The video that you just watched right now is from South Africa, where store owners poured oil on the ground in order to try to prevent some of the looting that was happening there. Why hasn't the United States thought of that? Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. This is Okradowski of WeAreChange.org. Lots of really crazy and insane news to get into today, especially with the federal government once again aiding and abetting in some of the worst atrocities that we will be discussing in this video. There's more bombshell revelations from Haiti, protests globally, and just jumping right into it, as in South Africa, of course, is going through a huge upheaval right now where literally, people are resorting to cartoon tricks in order to try to prevent the larger criminality and looting that is happening there right now. And the looting and indiscriminate burning down of property is not just happening to businesses and stores, it's also happening to warehouses and people's private homes, and almost entire communities that are being looted and robbed right now in the utter chaos that's unfolding in that country. All of South Africa's army reservists were called up, 25,000 troops all together to try to stop this unrest, where scenes even show some police officers participating and taking part in the larger looting. Already, way over 70 people have been killed during these clashes. This as there has been 6 days of chaos in most of South Africa, where private residences and store owners were left to defend themselves, with many people saying that they have been let down by the government that decided to respond late to the situation, as now many South Africans are finding it difficult to get everyday supplies and food. Now, the situation in the United States is not as grave as in South Africa, where literally police officers are using police cars as getaway vehicles after looting stores. Here in the United States, police officers usually look the other way, as utter bedlam and crime keep skyrocketing in major American cities, as of course right now there is an unofficial slowdown by the NYPD and other police departments all throughout this country, where police officers are choosing not to respond or responding very slowly to the ever-rising crime. A lot of people categorize this as one ingredient, a part of the larger pot that, according to some, will be boiling over with utter chaos. As we have this next article by the Daily Mail that is talking about a 1972 prediction by MIT that used a world simulation model and is, quote, predicting the collapse of society, which they say is on track of happening in 2040. As they predict, economic growth will halt, food will become more scarce, and of course the human population will decline, specifically detailing how the business as usual mentality will, quote, spark a decline in economic growth within the next decade, but then a full total collapse in 2040. Will the world play out like MIT predicted in 1972? Well, we don't know, but with the way that things are going, they definitely do make a very compelling case, especially with what is happening financially, as the head of the Federal Reserve just issued a statement saying that he is not concerned about the rising cost of living, specifically saying that he will only be concerned about inflation once large price increases become widespread. And with inflation here already affecting a lot of Americans, essentially taxing and stealing their savings right in front of them, there's even talk about Social Security payments going up 6.1% to deal with this inflation. And as governments decide to print more money, intervene in the markets even more, the problem will of course only be exacerbated even more. But hey, in response to all of that, we're doing a survival apocalypse training drill this coming Saturday with tickets are still limited. Yeah, I'm jumping right to this. I'm promoting this right away. This is mainly going to be a very fun and adventurous event that we're going to be conducting in New England. And survival was something that I've been taking very seriously for the last 2 years. I've had the pleasure of working with absolute professionals, Special Forces Green Berets, and a lot of other very talented individuals. And we will be teaching you how to absolutely live off-grid, navigate terrains, and of course, defend yourself no matter what the threat. If you're interested in that, check out the event, listed down below, which we always had very positive reviews of. Also, the civil unrest is not just happening in South Africa, in Cuba, in Haiti, in France. It's also happening in Ireland. It's also happening in Greece. We're going to be talking about that, plus a lot more, along with a new Johnson & Johnson recall, all specifically on LukeUncensored.com. If you haven't signed up for it, it's just 50 cents a day. And every single day, I'm starting to put more of my time, more of my resources, concentrating more on Luke Uncensored than I am on this specific YouTube channel. It is definitely worth the watch. If you haven't seen it yet, just go to LukeUncensored.com. Now, if you remember from the beginning, we were very skeptical about the latest news that was unfolding in Haiti, where the president was assassinated, and now we're just getting an onslaught of news and information that directly validates our concerns, as we're getting the information that the U.S. military is confirming that the assassins that took out the Haitian president were trained by the U.S. military. Some of them had connections to U.S. law enforcement, some connected to the DEA, some connected to the FBI, and some connected to a Florida-based security company that many people believe is a front for an intelligence agency. We're also learning that the head of security for the Haitian's presidential palace is also in custody, as he is being accused of cooperating with this assassination for allegedly being a part of this plot. Now, for the Pentagon to admit that it trained some of these Colombians, there's also 2 Americans a part of the assassination team, while the head of the CIA was in Colombia for a secretive, quote, delicate mission, and for the Pentagon to admit that they trained these Colombian assassins really paints the perfect picture of an utter conspiracy unfolding here against the Haitian president, who was one of the few world leaders that actively took a stance against the establishment medical big pharma agencies and their medical procedure that they're trying to push on everyone. The Haitian president did not go along with the agenda, did not go along with the narrative, and that this larger admission by the Pentagon could be assigned to other world leaders to play along, or else they could meet the fate of the Haitian president. Again, that is just a theory out there that could possibly explain what happened, exactly what were the motives. We do not know. We can only speculate as of right now. I think the speculation that I mentioned definitely has some merit to it, as right now it is more of a plausible explanation than anything even remotely being brought to by the mainstream media trying to explain this. In other secretive government agencies overthrowing governments news, we of course have the latest news from Cuba, where civil unrest and protesting also has been dominating that country and being used and abused and exploited by American political special interests for whatever side they represent. And in this very perplexed tug of war that is happening between the left and the right, specifically when it comes to Cuba, the official Black Lives Matter organization, which has been adorned by many multinational corporations and also the intelligence agencies, has issued a statement standing with the Marxist government of Cuba that literally shut down the internet for the entire country and has been trying to repress the protest movement happening in its country right now. The official Black Lives Matter organization, with millions of dollars in its coffers from the ruling establishment, decided to point the blame against former U.S. President Donald Trump for his, quote, inhumane treatment of the Cuban people, while expressing gratitude to Cuba for giving asylum to Ashata Shakur, while officially declaring their support for the Cuban Marxist government, which is absolutely absurd. Now, the left clearly in the United States is in support of the Marxist Cuban government. The people on the right are, of course, are against the Cuban government and are for the protests that are happening. But at the end of the day, we have to realize it doesn't matter what people want. The intelligence agencies will go behind everyone's back without any accountability, use secret slush fund money, and do whatever the hell they want and put whoever the hell they want in power afterwards. In related unaccountable U.S. government agency news, we have this latest declaration by the U.S. Department of Justice that just exposed the FBI for yet again allowing another sick predator of small children to get away with his horrible actions, with the DOJ essentially saying that the FBI has been protecting Larry NASCAR in his larger case, as the DOJ just announced that the FBI failed on several occasions to properly handle this case, what was happening here, the evidence, the victims, all of it against the Olympic doctor Larry Nassar. USA Today captured this moment perfectly with their headline article saying FBI allows blank, we can't say that, predator Nassar to go unchecked. His survivors may process another painful betrayal. We also have to understand that this is the same FBI that has been enshrining itself with woke LGBTQ pro-BLM ideology, but now routinely continues to almost deliberately fail when it comes to the hurting of children in unspeakable ways. This is not the first time that the FBI either messed up an entire case, looked the other way, and essentially aided and abetted the hurting of children in unspeakable ways, as of course, as we know, the FBI for over 30 years ignored the victims of the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. And today, we're even learning that the relationship between a former U.S. President Bill Clinton and Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein was far more bigger than even we knew before. Who, with new bombshell revelations, according to Vicky Ward, Bill Clinton flew on Jeffrey Epstein's private jets, not just visiting Africa before, but Japan, Taiwan, China, and countless others of destinations that we still don't even know about, as the relationship between Epstein and Clinton was far more extensive than we previously even knew about. The FBI knew children were being hurt here. Children and other victims came to the FBI. The FBI ignored them since the 1990s, and right now they're ignoring other victims of also other predators, as the top law enforcement agency in this country once again, absolutely suspiciously, looks the other way and essentially help a man hurt children. Again, for more than a year, FBI complaints went unanswered, and the FBI did nothing. The USA Today article goes on saying, quote, instead of listening and then acting according to the report released by the DOJ, the FBI violated agency procedures, made false statements, and exhibited extremely poor judgment, all while allowing a blank predator to go unchecked and continue his reign of terror. What in the world is happening here? And there should be some serious questions, some serious ramifications, some serious accountability to be had here, since, again, this is not the first time that this happened. Are there some sick individuals within the highest law agency of the federal government participating in this, allowing this, extorting people with this? What's happening here? There's some serious legitimate questions, and until the Jeffrey Epstein saga gets solved, because it's still unsolved, until we get some answers, there's absolutely no reason at all to believe the federal government, since your tax dollars are aiding and abetting the abuse of children in unspeakable ways. There's no denying it. The facts are all there, and that's a system that is absolutely sick and deserves to be called out. If you agree with that, share this video with your friends and family members. It just takes you double-clicking the URL. It is more imperative, more important than ever, and because you guys do that, I am still somehow here against the insane amount of downranking, algorithm changes, and shifts that do their best to make sure people can't hear important alternative information. And again, the only thing stopping it, double-clicking, sharing, paste. That's it. Love you guys. Stay tuned for more, especially on LukeUncensored.com.